if you can't say that this case is wrong, that the murder of an unarmed teenage boy for no greater crime than walking down the street in a gated community, if you can't say that that is wrong, I mean, you basically are saying that it's kind of open season on African-American children.
Wednesday, March 21st. Here's what we're buzzing about at Newsbeast. Michelle Goldberg in the house. We're going to be talking.
Hi there.
Congratulations on your nomination, by the way.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to be talking Trayvon Martin. We've got Blake Gopnik talking about Damien Hirst.
Hey, John.
How you doing, man?
Very good.
Okay. Let's start. What you got?
Well, I think that there's a story in the Beast today about Fox News's coverage of the Martin case, or I guess lack thereof. Yeah, and I think what's remarkable to me is that even with my low opinion of the right-wing media, I would not have necessarily expected this issue to become a kind of another culture war football. It seems that if you are on the right and you're kind of eager to disprove charges of racial animus, which the right usually is, this would be the perfect case to get outraged about, because it's a kind of clear violation of law and order. You have
civil liberties,
right. You have this aggressor going after someone who is totally unarmed, has no record. I mean, in a lot of ways, it couldn't be more cut and dry. And yet you have still seen either silence, dodging. I mean, if you can't say that this case is wrong, that the murder of an unarmed teenage boy for no greater crime than walking down the street in a gated community, if you can't say that that is wrong, I mean, you basically are saying that it's kind of open season on African-American children. But so what's remarkable to me is not only that there's been a kind of either refusal to condemn it or kind of very tepid response to it, you're now already starting to see it kind of get turned around. So there's an article in The Blaze today in which they say that this is now being used as another excuse for kind of black radicals to mau the rest of us. And they're kind of pointing to some very obscure black nationalist group that's now planning, saying they're going to do a citizen's arrest of of Zimmerman, as if that's the real threat here.
So I mean, this goes back to, I think, a lot of the fetishizing of the new Black Panthers case and other stuff like that. But first of all, let's acknowledge that no presidential candidate, and I'm going to say no elected Republican, believes in any way, shape, or form that it's open season on black teenagers.
No, I don't. You're right, and I didn't mean to. I think that what I'm saying is that if we as a country cannot even come together to condemn something like this, I think that that's the implicit message.
What's the political dynamic that you think causes this to be, or Blake, if you want to jump in, to end up being a conspiracy of silence, where all of a sudden something that becomes a miscarriage of justice that's pretty clear becomes politicized in a way that causes people to hang back? Our own David Frum had a great suggestion. He tweeted the other day. He said, look, if I'm Mitt Romney, call the Martin family.
Right, exactly.
And call the Martin family, express your sympathy and your outrage because you're running for president of all Americans. That's a kind of basic, good advice. And I'm not sure why that advice doesn't.
Well, I think that what's happened is that, one thing that you can say about George W. Bush is that he never exploited racial divisions.
Quite the opposite. He tried very hard to do the opposite.
But I think that what you've seen is, partly because of the rise of the first black president, because of the economic crisis, you've seen kind of racial tensions come roaring back into the fore of our politics. And so now you have a party that so much kind of caters to racial resentment. Every time they talk about the economic crisis being all about kind of these lazy moochers who refuse to, who are kind of sucking at the public teat. So all of this kind of Reagan-era rhetoric about the kind of lazy, parasitical underclass has come roaring back, even though the irony is that there's not even really a welfare system to exploit anymore.
Blake, got a great story. Damien Hirst. If Damien Hirst, the painter, actor, artist, not actor, I'm sorry, I misspoke, artist, we're a rock band.
I think actually he is basically an actor.
Actually, right?
He's more actor than anything else.
So you did the whole Warhol overlay. That was our connection in the Mad Men issue, that this is sort of, he's got 200 assistants spread around England, and he is sort of, it's Damien Hirst, Inc.
Exactly, and that's the work of art. I mean, I think the mistake that people make is thinking that the shark in a tank is a work of art. And that gets people really angry. I mean, it's so weird. Hirst is the most hated great artist I think that there's ever been, except for Warhol in the 70s.
Koons?
Oh yeah,
really?
Jeff Koons can't compete because he doesn't do things that are obviously only for the money. I mean, when Hirst holds an auction and makes $200 million on an auction of his own brand new work and declares that a work of art, that freaks people out. That gets them very, very angry. And the only artist who's ever had this kind of reception, I think, was Warhol in the 70s, when everyone said he's totally sold out, he'll make a portrait of anyone you can imagine, right? And he's doing it for the money.
And he did, yeah.
And he did. And now the people who know, people who care think that that's the greatest Warhol moment. It's when he turns art, the business of art, into art.
But the thing is that doing that, however many years, 40 years ago now, it was a statement at the time. He was kind of, both kind of exploiting and satirizing the art market in a way, the way kind of Duchamp did however many years previously. But now the
like to keep things lowbrow here.
But now, now we're all Warhol, right? Like 40 years have gone by. There's no more kind of really established divide between high and low. So what exactly is it that he's breaking? What exactly is it that he's breaking down? I guess is the question.
That's an interesting question. Yeah.
The art world is still leery of its own market in a weird kind of way. The art world doesn't like to admit that there's a lot of money involved and a lot of it's about the money. So
that's not cool.
Because it's not cool. Art's still supposed to be for the sake of the eternal human spirit, right?
But do people really even pretend to believe that anymore? I mean, they go to
they go to
art. I mean, they go to Art like Art Basel is basically this kind of bacchanal.
The Art Basel Art Fair, but they still believe that when they go to Art Basel, when they come home with their $100 million spent on 3 pictures, that then the pictures magically stop being part of the market, right?
Right.
You're part of the market to buy it, but then somehow that draw sort of falls away.
Becomes a purely aesthetic judgment without a lot of boatload of cash behind it.
Whereas with Damien Hirst, you can't do that. You can't do it when you're spending, I think, $20,000 for what's basically a glorified poster, a print in an edition of 1,000. You just can't ignore the fact that this thing is as much about money as anything else. Although, the reason we ran this story when we did is because the great Tate Modern Museum in London is doing a huge retrospective, April 4th, of Damien Hirst, and they are ignoring the money side altogether. As far as they're concerned, just a bunch of great masterpieces, right?
I like Successful Rebels. I like Successful Rebels, so good on Damien Hirst. If Damien Hirst was a rock band, who would he be?
That's a hard one. He'd either be the Monkees or Vivaldi, and I haven't decided which.
I was going to go Blur or something, but I might have been doing a Damien riff. I don't know. Final word, Michelle.
I guess Outrage.
Blake?
Damien Hirst is one of the greatest artists of our time.
No, it's a word.
No, it's a word.
Unless it's a massive contraction in a gonzo way.
Picasso for our times.
Okay, we're going to say it's a contraction. That's good. I'm going to go Money Bomb. That's all for us at Newsbeast today. We'll see you tomorrow. That was fun.
Thanks a lot.